Hey, what is going on, guys? This one landed like a comet. Kind of hurt almost too. This is the ZZA kit of the ReGUS. So the GUS came out not that long ago, and I've heard from a lot of people that it was a really nice kit. I didn't get a chance to build it, but shortly after they announced that they were going to be coming out with the ReGUS, which is based on that. A little bit different. This one's like a little bit more sort of Gundam looking in terms of like the styling of this. It has the Gundam style V-fin, whereas the GUS was a little bit more sort of like a Jesta kind of Hail Rider kind of vibe to it. Sort of like a Super Gym. This one though is, yeah, more kind of Gundam themed. Has a little bit more kind of Gundam color scheme to it, like the white, red, and yellow, no blue. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. It does look really, really cool. Let's get into it for today's video. But all right, so for the front of the box art here, you can see they're keeping it pretty simple with just the line art. It does look pretty cool though. You can definitely see the Gundam inspiration there in the head with the face, the V-fin and all that. So there's definitely that there. The back side of the box is just going to have some text there like so, but then on the top of the box, we do actually have a photo of the kit. So there it is, all decaled up and everything, looking very cool and just kind of a standing pose there. On the bottom of the box, though, a different image here and a little bit more of an action pose, kind of with these missile pods open and stuff like that there. So that's about it. But as you can see, for like the size of the box, it's about the same size as like a typical like large Bandai master grade box. And so let's check out inside here. A bunch of runners, of course, and then hopefully an instruction manual in here as well. A couple of other things as well. We do have two of these long red soft kind of wires, and they are soft, so they're not going to hold a pose. So I think these are probably just to add some like hose detail onto the kit design. And then we've got some water slide decals here as well, mostly in orange and gray there, and then some red and dark gray for these larger ones down there at the bottom, but those look really nice. And our instruction booklet's going to look like the front of the box. There on the back side, this looks to be the continuation of the decal guide, which is on the back inside page there. That's in full color, showing you where all the decals are going to go on there. Background to the front inside page here, and it's just the parts list. I like the fact they put X's on these leftover parts. Those are obviously just going to be parts left over from the original GUS kit that are not used for this version. And once again, it looks like the instructions for this one are going to be printed in just all black and white, but you can see there are little bits of pink to highlight points where you need to pay attention to the instruction manual, like you need to plug this part into there first before connecting the rest of that. Stuff like that. Otherwise, it's all just going to be, it looks to be pretty straightforward construction here for this. But let's go ahead and get into the runners here, with the first few being in this medium gray color here for the inner frame. Here's runner A, runner B as well. You can see we do have a lot of nice detail there for our inner frame. Runner C we have two of here. Runner D we also have two of. And then we've got runner E, which looks like it's going to be made up of a lot of hand parts on there, and the hands look pretty nice. Runner G is a couple little armor parts here in a kind of medium gray color. And then we've got some white parts here, runner H. And we've got two runner I there, some of the larger white armor parts. Runner J here is going to be some armor parts in black. Then runner K here in a light gray, and the same thing for runner M. And then compare that to runner N, which is in like kind of a light tan color. You can kind of see the difference there between the two. For runner O, we've got some parts here in a kind of orangish yellow color, and you're going to really want to be careful with the V-fin part, because they have these parts on the side, these like big chunks of the runner there to kind of protect that, but I still feel like that could very easily be caught on something and just really damage that very thin part there for the V-fin, so be extra careful with that. Runner P, then we got some parts here in red. Runner Q is a larger runner here for some more parts in light gray. Runner R is some more parts there in white. For the S runner, we've got some parts here in clear blue. The T runner is going to be some parts there in a kind of brownish gray. And then we've got some more gray parts here for the inner frame. So I'm guessing these are all new runners specifically for the ReGUS. There's two of runner U here. And then we've got runner V, parts for the shield, and some more parts there in gray, and then runner W, which is going to be mostly weapons parts there, it looks like, and it looks very large too. Lastly then, runner X in clear yellow is going to be our beam saber effect parts. Love this like curved dynamic one there, it looks nice. Runner Y is a few more parts here in red, and lastly runner Z here in white is a couple more bits on there, and that's it. Let's go ahead and check it out. All right, guys, and then here it is all put together, a very large, bulky beast of a kit. If you missed the live stream build of this over on the USA Gundam TV channel, go back and check that out. But it was a pretty easy build to put together. Didn't have any issues or anything with this. There was one small thing that I'll point out to you guys, but other than that, I mean, I think this kit comes out looking amazing, even straight out of the box, without any painting, without any panel lining or decals or anything else to this. It's going to look really, really impressive just with all the details and color separation that you already have built into this. We have some really cool weapons and accessories as well, which we'll take a look at here in just a second. But overall, a really impressive kit with one minor complaint that I am going to have about this, and I'll talk some more about that in just a second. But for now, let's go ahead and check out those accessories. So let's start off with our hand options. The first set that we have on here are kind of your standard master grade type hands where the thumb is on a ball joint, the first finger is on a ball joint, and the second and third and fourth fingers are joined together, also on ball joints. So it looks like maybe you could cut them apart for individual articulation. These hands work well enough for being articulated. They make a somewhat convincing closed fist, although not entirely. And then we have two different types of open hands for the left and the right side both. So the first type is going to be sort of this like kind of half outstretched hand. All of the hands do have a joint at the wrist, I'll mention, and then the thumbs are all on ball joints. In this case, the fingers are just fixed pose like that. In this one, everything's more outstretched. The thumb's still on a ball joint, but that's just a more outstretched pose here. This one, I'm thinking kind of more of like a rifle support hand, although you do have that for both the left and the right side. And although there is no included base, which is probably going to be my biggest point of contention with this kit, we do have this adapter piece that will fit up underneath the waist, and then this will actually fit on top of your Bandai action bases like that. So if you just got like a regular 1/100 scale Bandai action base, you can use that with this kit, and I would definitely recommend picking one up. For our beam saber effect parts, we got these two somewhat smaller ones, although these are kind of typical 1/100 scale size. These are going to be for the beam sabers that are stored in the back of the arms right here, so you can pull those out and then use these with those beam saber effect parts. They also have a little tab there to plug into the hand for a good solid grip on those. Pretty standard there. But then we've got its big beam sabers. Those are going to be stored here in the knee, so this front part of the knee will fold down and then you can pull those out of there. They're not really like plugged into anything, they're just kind of resting there, and so when they're closed up, they're not going to like fall out or anything. They're pretty well contained, but I do kind of wish that there was like a little piece in there that was actually like plugged into that would have been maybe a little bit more secure. But these larger beam sabers, these do also have a hole there to tab into the hands, and with these you can use one of your more dynamic and larger beam saber effect parts. So this like straight one, and they are pretty tight, so be a little bit careful about that. You might want to sand down the peg of the beam effect part there a little bit, just so you don't risk kind of breaking that off in there. So you have the straight one or this really cool curved slashing effect part here like this, which will look really nice and is very large too, by the way, just compared to the kit itself, which is pretty big. You can see, I mean, just that slashing effect part is really long. Next up, we've got the shield, which is pretty interesting. Here on the front, I mean, it's just a kind of nice color separation, relatively simple, some nice details on there. On the back side, again, some nice details here. The handle will fold out for holding on to the hand, and this actually doesn't plug onto the arm. This connection arm that we have here for this has a few different points of articulation where this will bend and rotate around. This is not going to plug onto the back of the arm, but in fact onto the backpack. So there's this little cap here, that little circle bit right there. You're going to remove that, and that's where the shield is going to be plugged into. So it'll actually be attached to the backpack, and then you're meant to just use the handle in the hand. So I think that's a really interesting way to attach the shield on there and to help support the weight of the shield. Although it's not necessarily all that heavy in this case, at least it's not all resting on the arm for support. My only concern is if that's going to limit the articulation of the arm, having this like somewhat short connection arm having to be attached to the backpack there. So we'll see about that. But again, some really cool details here on the shield, both on the front and the back, and that'll look really good panel lined and then with some decals and stuff on there too. Next up then, we've got our main weapon, which is going to be this huge rifle and grenade launcher. So this camera up here on the top, which you have that cool clear part for, this will move to the side there like that. The secondary handle here on the side, that will also fold out. You can see there's a tab hole in that handle as well. Over here on this side, you have this kind of extra kind of camera bit or something, whatever. Anyway, add it onto the side. There's a little tiny clear part in there as well. and these cables which actually go from the back of the rifle here. And those are going to plug up into the base of the backpack right up in there. Then you also have this piece here at the back, so it's going to be held in the hand, and then this stabilizer piece will fit around the forearm so that the weight of this rifle is not resting on the wrist, so you don't have that, you know, terrible wrist droop that you can sometimes get with a lot of kits. So this will be secured onto the forearm, so it should be held up pretty solid. And then you have these clear parts here at the back end, at the front end here as well, which are pretty cool. Some nice color separation of the yellow parts in there. But the only thing I don't like is that these grenades, you have one in the tube here and then two down here. There's not really anything holding in place, so it can just kind of fall out. And then this one here at the bottom as well seems to be kind of a little bit more secure in there, but there's not really a whole lot holding them in there necessarily. Again, like with the beam saber handle in the knee, I wish that there was some other kind of either like click function or like something for those to just plug into in there would have been nice. But otherwise, a really cool design here for the main weapon. It's certainly very big and chunky, matching the design of the kit overall, but I think that one looks really cool. And that's it for all of the accessories, kind of your standard loadout of beam rifle, beam sabers, shield, but definitely some interesting twists in there. A couple of little option parts to mention here for you guys. So the eyes, you have a clear blue part for the eyes if you prefer. I just think the yellow one's a little easier to see. For the black part there at the crest of the head, and then the black like kind of chin piece there as well, you have those in red if you prefer to have a little bit more kind of traditional Gundam coloration going on there. The same thing goes for the feet. These black parts around the feet, the black armor parts, you have here in red if you prefer. Again, that would kind of be a little bit more kind of Gundam looking, but I do like them in black. It's pretty cool. Another color option part here, these gray parts for the front of the knee, you have those also in white if you prefer to have more white on the kit, but honestly, I mean, I think it just looks good in gray like that. Now, last thing, you have almost all the parts to make the original Gus head here, except for the clear parts. So the clear parts for the cameras and the visor are the only parts missing. But as I've heard from people that have told me who have built the Gus kit, you actually get 2 sets of those clear parts with the Gus because you have 2 different color options. So if you already have the Gus and you have an extra set of these clear parts for the head lying around, you can absolutely use them with this kit, and then you could have 2 complete swappable heads for this, whether you wanted to use the more kind of gym styled head or the more Gundam styled head, which is pretty awesome. And so a couple more things to point out just for some additional gimmicks here. These doors here up on the shoulder parts will open up the front and the back side there as well, although that's kind of facing the back, kind of not really necessarily all that useful that would seem, but those open up like that there on the shoulders. Here on the side of the leg, you have this part that just flips out there for some extra little micro missiles there. It can shoot out of the side of the leg. The knee, I showed you that, how that folds down where the beam saber is. This whole section here on the side of the leg, these thruster bells can move up and down a little bit on their own, and this whole section can kind of separate out away from the leg and then kind of rotate a little bit, sort of similar to the Shinanju in that way. And actually the backpack also kind of reminds me a lot of the Shinanju, just having like the center section and these 2 kind of wing sort of looking sections there. Combined with the fuel tanks, there's definitely some Shinanju sort of inspiration there, it would seem. But these thruster bells here, while we're on the note of that, 9 of those with those clear blue parts on the inside look pretty cool. Some really nice details and color separation here on the backpack as well. So these parts are able to move up and down, side to side. You can kind of change the angle of those as you see fit. And the same thing goes with the fuel tanks. You can change them up, down, side to side, all around for those. There's a cool gimmick in the back of the leg that when you pull out this thruster, these kind of top and bottom parts will kind of open up there like that, and when you push that back in, they'll kind of close back up. It's supposed to be like that. You have to kind of help it along a little bit, like you can pull that out like that. It won't open up kind of entirely. You can open it up slightly more like that, and then again pushing it back in, you kind of have to kind of help it to close back up all the way. But there's a couple more thruster bells there. Up underneath the feet, some really nice detail here as well. And a really cool gimmick here with the cockpit hatch. When you open this up, as you open the door, the kind of pilot's chair kind of slides out because it's geared there, as you can see. That was the only part of this construction of this kit that really kind of gave me any trouble at all, was putting that part together, because I think it seems like how it's printed in the instructions, it's slightly wrong, like the gear placement between the gear of the chair and the bottom gear. I think like you just have to make sure when you're putting that together that you have the teeth lined up the right way so that when it closes up, it's able to close up flushly. So when I put it together first, just according to the manual, this cockpit hatch door wasn't able to close up all the way because I had the gear teeth misaligned there. But there's our seated pilot figure inside, which I guess this is meant to be 1/100 scale, and unless that's like a small child or teenager. It's pretty small to be 1/100 scale. It seems smaller than that. The pilot figure almost seems closer to like 1/44 scale, which would make this an absolutely massive mech. But just generally speaking on the articulation, I mean, it's really nice. You have a pretty good ab bend here and the side-to-side bend there as well. You kind of can't really see it, it's kind of lost in there, but there's a really cool like piston detail that you put together on like the front of the torso, so when you move the chest side to side like that, those pistons actually work up inside there. Front to back, you know, it's a little bit less so, and with the weight of the backpack, I kind of would have preferred to have even less articulation in the midsection, because then the problem is, depending on the pose, you might have it kind of wanting to lean back just because of the weight of the backpack there. The only part of the kit that I find is popping off sometimes is these front skirts here, these ball joints. So I would recommend tightening up these ball joint connection parts here for the front skirts. They tend to want to pop off when you're handling the kit. But other than that, really haven't had any issues of anything else coming off on this. The knee articulation here as well, with these legs that look very much similar to like the Hazel Custom. Reminds me a lot of just kind of the general shape and bulkiness and the black feet and everything. The knee, you're not really gonna get much knee separation in terms of like this armor separating. You do have a double joint and a piston up inside there, sliding armor gimmick at the top of the thigh, but because of the bulk at like the back of the leg, you aren't really gonna get too much more than about a 90-degree bend there, it would seem. So all in all, guys, I gotta say, very positive experience with this one. I can highly recommend it for you. I think a question that a lot of people are going to have is whether you want to get this or the GUS, or if you already have the GUS, do you really want to get essentially the same kit again? I think the kits, you know, side by side look different enough that it certainly warrants getting both, and especially because they're very affordable kits. I mean, for what you get, it's a pretty big kit with a ton of stuff in there. I think the prices are such that it certainly wouldn't hurt too much to just get both, but it was a fun and easy build, so it's not like it would be a slog having to build mostly the same kit again. I mean, you have a lot of new parts there with the backpack, obviously an entirely new head, a lot of new parts there at the shoulders as well, so there's a good amount of the kit that's new with this one that I think it certainly wouldn't feel like just building the same kit again. And then obviously all the color changes in there as well. It just has a kind of completely different look overall when it's all said and done. So like I mentioned before, really the only criticism that I would level against this is just the fact that it doesn't come with a base. Really kind of would have been nice if it would have included one. It is totally compatible with a Bandai action base with the connection piece that we have included with this, but Bandai action bases are fine. I think that this could have included something better, you know, and it wouldn't cost necessarily a whole lot. A couple of runners for some parts for the base, it really would have been nice. But I think the kit looks fantastic, even straight out of the box here, without doing anything else to it, without doing any panel lining or detail painting or anything like that. But I do have to say, I do really like the detail scheme on this. It's not just like a bunch of panel lines everywhere, and just like the details that are on this, on like especially on the surface of the armor, you have a lot of these like little latch details and stuff. It's just like details that I particularly like and appreciate with this design here. A lot of like these like heat vent kind of details in different areas and all that. So that's all just subjective in terms of like kind of what type of details you like to see on your kits, but I really like how this one looks. So definitely looking forward to seeing this one, you know, either fully painted or at the very least panel lined, detail painted a little bit. I think it would do a lot for this. Also some top coat on there as well, and you have the water slide decals included. So I mean, you could do a pretty minimal, just like detail up job on this and it would be looking fantastic even without fully painting it. But let me know your guys' thoughts on the ReGUS down in the comment section below. Do you like this one just in terms of like the design more than the GUS, or do you like the GUS more? I think there's probably going to be a lot of people on both sides, but it's kind of hard to deny that both versions do look really, really cool. So let me know your thoughts, and if you want to check out the kits for yourself, of course, you can check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. You can check out both of these awesome kits and more there on the website, so check that out. And as always, guys, thanks so much for checking out the review video here today. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. If you're not yet subscribed yet, do subscribe just to make sure that you don't miss more future reviews and more. So until next time, guys, hope y'all are doing well. See y'all later. Bye-bye.